Hello, this is Crypto CJ. It's the trade of the day, Friday afternoon slash evening, Saturday morning edition, depending on where you are. Tough day today in the market, but we gotta stay calm and breathe. We just gotta work our way through it. Bitcoin went down at one point about 10%, but that caused just a nightmare effect with the altcoins, which went down 15 to 25%. And I was questioning my reason to live and things like that. It was a tough day for me. I was pretty confident about my swing trading strategy on 5x leverage. A lot of those got liquidated. I did not plan sufficiently for that, and that's my fault. So I'm going to have to reevaluate that strategy. Surprisingly, my day trading strategy did pretty well by avoiding trades, and I'll show you that in a minute. So I guess that's something. And then on the hodl side, I picked up some low buy orders. So still a very tough day for me. And to be candid, dealing with a little, what do they call that? Imposter syndrome. If I have a day this bad and I'm hosting a Zoom call about how to day trade and swing trade, I you know have to reevaluate. But even after 4 years of doing this, I'm still learning. I started trading leverage 2 years ago, and that's been hit and miss. So, I might just do some more spot trading. So that's one way to avoid, some of the anxiety. You don't have to worry about liquidations in that scenario, but profits aren't as good and aren't as fast. So, and we all like fast profits. Well, enough of my rant. Let's actually, Craig was going to share a chart. Craig, do you want to share that chart now?
I will.
Thank you.
So it's a Bitcoin chart that I created just while it's loading up. Created probably over a week ago now. Just tell me when you can see it. Should be
Not
able to
yet.
see it. It's showing it shared.
Huh. Just seeing
We
you,
we see your face.
but not an indication of it being shared.
Okay, I might have shared the wrong screen. Sure I shared screen too.
Hmm. I believe
Hang
you.
on. I'll try again.
Okay. Give you a little more time, and then
You
maybe
just
you
talk
need to
about something else. Well,
tinker with that. Yeah, let's
okay.
uh let's do that. I'll share my screen, do a little bit of review over Bitcoin and Ethereum. Then Craig's got a structure he's going to show us. Hopefully he can get it going by then. So we'll
Well,
start
according to me,
mine.
it should be going.
Okay.
Now it is.
Well, that's my hour
Oh, that's
chart.
yours. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll start with this and just go over today's drop. Around 5 a.m. we were up here at 72.8. Actually, this is Monday morning, sorry. And then in a 1 week's time, we lost 10%. Just today, so that would be a better place to start. Yeah, this is what I wanted to show. 5 a.m. Yeah, this is the 8% drop I talked to you about earlier. And then we've recovered, almost half that. So down to 65K, pushing 67 at the moment. So will we bounce back into the 70s over the weekend? It's hard to say, but at this moment, you can see my list here. These are the coins I trade the most, and there's a lot of 20% losses today, 21 ROE, which has been moving lately. So it was brutal. Atom is down below $10. I had excellent entries on Atom and Matic, and now I'm back where I started. I had 77-cent entry on Matic on one of my swing trades, and now it's back to where it started. So we'll see if it bounces back. On Ethereum, this is the day chart. Let's look at the hour on this as well. And it had a worse drop, from 4 a.m. to the drop at 11, 12.5%, and recovered some of that to go. We didn't lose 3,000 at least on Ethereum, but we did dip down to about 3,100, then bounce back to 32 and change. And I've read a few articles to see what's going on. This kind of thing usually happens before the halving. There's some significant dumps of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but the double digit stuff really wrecks you if you're on leverage, and the market makers love to do that. So as I said, I'm going to be probably implementing a much safer leverage strategy and/or using more stop losses. So, okay, well, that's about all I had on the market overall. And Ken's asking, can you not short sell? I did 2 shorts today, and on day trades that did really well, obviously, and then I did a swing trade as well. That's looking really good. That's on 5x, and I'm up 8% on that. So, yeah, you can short, but overall, we think we're in a bull market, though it's hard to feel like that today. But so shorting can be dangerous. I usually implement a stop loss on any shorts I do, or I'm really cautious with them. I just take little profits when I see them. So that's my my
let's
approach
have another go.
overall. You want to
I
have
need to
another
stop
go?
sharing. Yeah.
Okay, Ken's asking, what site or program do you use? I think you mean exchange. Let's get to Craig, and then we'll get back to that at the end. So, all right, go ahead, Craig.
It says I can't share while you're sharing. Are you still
I
sharing?
just unshared, so.
Okay. What's going on here? Lost it.
Still technical difficulties?
I don't know what the hell's going on.
Oh, no. Craig's as good as this
I
as I
usually
am.
have
So
no trouble with this.
yeah, you've hosted many Zoom calls I've attended, and
Maybe
all
do
right.
you want to try sharing your whole all of your computer and just tap on the screen that works?
Yeah, we got it, Robert. We're good. I see it anyway. You guys see Craig's
Yes.
Yeah.
There it is.
Okay, so the important thing is that I started this back here. So I looked at it, and this is the week daily chart. So I drew these lines. It looked like it was that was before this happened. So it looked like it was coming down here and it was coming up here. Okay, and it respected this to this point here. It broke out above, but I just think my feeling of that was that it was just it wasn't a breakout, but it just moved beyond the boundary of the chart that I had set up, and it came back into it. So it was just out of it briefly, and it's pretty much respecting the predicted line. Then it came back down, which was sorry, the one before this one here. It came almost back down. It just missed touching on that. That was Wednesday the 19th for me, probably Tuesday for you guys. And then it
Craig's in
came
New
all the way
Zealand.
back up. Came all the way back up. It broke out again. It touched the top margin. And then it obviously this happened last night. It stopped right on the thing, but the wick went way down to not quite to the bottom boundary I had, but halfway down to it. The point of control right now is right on where it is. But to me, we believed there were going to be some big downs before the halving, but I don't think this is it, to be honest.
Yeah, Patrick and I were talking earlier, and he was reiterating what some other people were saying, that this isn't it. This isn't the drop, and you're right. This is still within your structure, and there could be a breakout down that goes down into the low 60s, upper 50s.
Well, I would expect it to come back down to this floor here.
Yeah, it's at 61 something. Can't quite see it.
Yeah, 61,388. But it could be lower than that. It could go to the
Mhm.
bottom edge of this line. So put some buy orders down there.
It's a good idea. Put some low buy orders in on, probably something like Coinbase or wherever you do your spot trading.
You can spot trade on Bybit.
Sure. And
if that's where you are. Oh, yeah, because you guys don't have that, do you?
you guys, I mean, what's are we segregating here?
You people.
You people. All right. Well, Craig is my favorite Kiwi, so Americans. Right. Yeah, we're Americans mostly stuck on Coinbase, so with a few exceptions, but I mean we can do some DeFi stuff as well, but I digress. All right. Well, any questions for Craig on his structure regarding where, Bitcoin could go in and around the halving? Okay.
I thought that Bitcoin was going to go up before the halving.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did.
Yeah.
Here. It went up here.
It did, a few days ago. On Monday, actually. Had a good day.
Yeah.
I remember
the halving's predicted to be around the 20th, is that right? 20th to the 22nd, I believe, at this stage.
23rd, 24th, 21st, 22nd, so somewhere in the 20s.
It's well, I heard earlier rather than later in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
It's all to do with the number of transactions, so it's not a date, it's not a time.
Right.
It's when the certain transaction is completed. So it depends on the rate of transactions.
Yeah. But, does it go up immediately before or a week or 2 weeks before? That's not really well defined. And really what's happened in the past is fairly soon after the halving, we've had a big jump in Bitcoin. So, but around the halving, shortly before, shortly after, we have this kind of chop. So just chop. And we be chopping this week. So okay.
Oh, well.
So that's not a real direct answer to your question, but best I can do. Any other questions or comments about the market overall? Okay.
I'll stop the share, and I won't be able to hang around, CJ, as we mentioned.
All right. Thanks for jumping on, and I will kick you out of sharing. And then I'll go to a question I got on the Zoom call. Ken's asking, what exchange do you use that has as many as crypto.com? It's kind of specific. It's a really detailed question here in the chat if you guys want to look at it yourself. But yeah, as I mentioned before, I use Coinbase for spot trading. I use MEXC and BingX for some spot trading as well. Those are foreign exchanges I access with a VPN. They don't require KYC yet, but they probably will soon. I've seen some messages from them. It's hard to do. The best thing to do is to get a digital ID and trade on foreign exchanges if you really want to, have access to most of the cryptos. But it's kind of a hassle having money spread out on multiple exchanges. There's some diversity, but now you're in a foreign jurisdiction. You're not in America anymore, and you don't have the protection of the government. FTX went out of business essentially back in 22, and people lost money, and that was a big exchange. So, there's some risk with that. You can use DeFi platforms, but those tend to be expensive. It's better now with some of the with some non-Ethereum type DeFi exchanges, but I'm already on at 5 or 6 exchanges myself, so that's sufficient for me. I don't have much experience with DeFi. So that's what I do, and I get asked that a lot. But I would say if you're fairly new to this, to spot trading and in short-term swing trading than spot trading on Coinbase, and you live in the US, then spot trading on Coinbase is probably the way to go. If you live in other jurisdictions, like my friend Craig, I do have some New Zealanders and Aussies who watch this. So you have Bybit, Binance, some of those larger exchanges. The Binance has been mischievous and in some trouble lately. So that's my review on exchanges. So any other questions on that before we move on?
Well, Kraken is good.
Yeah, I
I
hear good things about Kraken, though I haven't used that in probably 3 years. But
yeah, it's doing very well. They have the coins that that Coinbase doesn't have.
you have inspired me. I'm gonna look at Kraken soon. And is this Tashi or Tama who spoke? That's Tama. Okay. Okay. Cool. Anything else before we move on to Altcoin Alert?
Yeah, which site do you use that has the leverage option? Not that I want to do it yet.
Okay. I do most of my leverage trading on Bybit, and to access that, I've become a digital citizen of the island nation of Palau, which is in the West Pacific somewhere between Australia and Indonesia or something. So, but that requires a KYC process. So to get that ID, I have to give them my driver's license and information about myself. And so then I'm approved for that digital ID, and then I can take that digital ID and I can pass KYC on. I pass it on Bybit, BitGet, and KuCoin. But I don't use BitGet and KuCoin anymore, but I use Bybit a lot. So, and that's where I do most of my, 90% of my leverage trading's on Bybit. I do a little bit on, I wanted to branch out so I knew I was going to talk about this. So I got on BingX and MEXC, and because they didn't require KYC, but they're, like I said earlier, they're probably going to soon. So to answer your question, and then now Coinbase does have some leverage options, but it's very limited from what I see. So Ken, to answer your question, if you want to short something, I'd say try BingX or MEXC. Don't use much money. I can't verify the financial condition of those exchanges, and if they do require KYC and you can't get on as an American, they'll let you take your money off. I've never had any trouble with that, but no guarantees. Okay, any other questions?
Didn't KuCoin go down the tube?
I didn't quite hear that. Was that KuCoin?
Yeah, didn't KuCoin get had the SEC after them?
Yeah, they were in trouble of some kind. I can't remember what it was, but I wasn't trading it on it much anyway. I just had it as a backup, and so it didn't really affect me. But I know that was that was like option number 2 for US people, was to use KuCoin, and then so now we don't use that either. So I need to look at Kraken again.
The Kraken is holding its own. They haven't had any trouble.
That's what we want to hear. All right, cool. Well, that was a nice chat for about 20 some minutes. I was debating whether even to go on Altcoin Alert today after today's issues, but I want to show you why at least some of the strategies I use kept me out of trouble today, at least on the day trading side. So share my screen and go over to Altcoin Alert. I am on the altcoin radar setting. I'm going to reload, get the most current information. And the first sort I do is an AA score. I'm usually looking for 80 or better. I don't have any of those at the moment due to today's drop, probably. Got some 79s, so I'm going to fudge a little. I've got audio up, and I want to look at this one. So I'm going to look at this first as a day trade. This is on the 15-minute chart. And this is my setup with the RTI that I use for entries on dips and pullbacks, and then pumps.
That's why I had the fan on.
Somebody's got a fan on. Let's mute yourself if you're not talking. Thanks, appreciate it. Anyway, so I wanted to show you guys something. Like I said, kept me out of trouble today. So I'll go to my vertical line. So I had this alert, and as you know, I'm on. If you've been with me before, I'm looking for dips below the 20 on the RTI and then recoveries. So what happened is this dipped at 6 a.m. and never came back. So none of my alerts went off. So the market's dropping. None of my alerts are going off because nothing's recovered yet. It's still dropping, dropping, dropping. And so I didn't get any long trades today on my day trading layout because this approach kept me out of them. Now, as you know, I also like to get in on trades that go above the 50 and below the 50. And that happened at 3:30 a.m. my time. Of course, I'm sleeping, and I obviously didn't get in that trade, so that kept me out. But had that occurred before this dip, maybe I would have been faked out and got into it. But anyway, the RTI day trading, at least in the during trading hours, did keep me out of trouble. Maybe it was lucky, I don't know, but I think that's one advantage of instead of just the 1, 2, 3 dip, which I do like, and I recommend all you guys learn that. Using that strategy, I would have seen this squeeze, this bubble, and here's one dip, second dip, third dip. I probably get in here. It's not going to cooperate. You're hoping to get to the SMA line, but big crash down here. So even though I like the 1, 2, 3 dip, it's my favorite strategy. I've revised it some to use this RTI, use the RSI as well. I've had slightly better results with the RTI, but the dip and the recovery, you want to catch that recovery. You don't just want to get in here on the dip. Some people who like retraces say to buy the red. I've recently heard somebody I respect say that, and I don't know, I'm a better man than me, I guess. But I want to wait till that recovers and I see some evidence of it. So how do you set an alert on the RTI? Oh, before I forget, if you're on my email list, I'm sending out a video about the RTI tomorrow, around noon, 12:30 Pacific. So learn more about it through that video. But anyway, back to alerts. Right click on the RTI, add an alert. And if you want to cross the 50 either direction, set it for crossing. If you're trading spot, you're going to want to be crossing up on the 50. And then if you want to catch that deeper dip below the 20 in the return, you just set one for 20 and once per bar close. I usually use information sources for my alert name, AA score, and notifications, notify on the app, which is my phone, pop up on my computer screen, and play a sound also on my computer screen. And there's a few choices here you can make. So that's how to do a spot trading alert using the RTI. Now, if you want to trade both directions, so which is what I often do. So you want to catch the dip and the break back up, and then you also want to catch the shorts when it breaks above the 80 and dips back down. Bring my line over here. That happens right about here. As you can see, it makes a nice breakdown, about 2.2%. And then if you stay in longer, you can catch this nightmare that we had today. So So to trade both directions on the RTI, right click, set an alert, and we're going to enter a channel. We're going to create a channel, and whenever we enter it, the alert will go off. So we're going to go 80 on the top, on the upper bound, 20 on the bottom, on the lower bound. Once per bar, close keeps it on until you turn it off. AA score purchase. And, you know, everything else can be the same. Click create, and you're good to go. Well, I'll go ahead and set that one. And then you'll see this rectangle on your chart. So if it breaks above and then dips below, that'll send the alert or trigger the alert. And then once this breaks back up above 20, it'll trigger the alert as well. Any questions on the audio 15-minute chart? Okay, so everything dropped 20%, 15 to 20% today, just about. So we have some good low entries. This is my swing trading 1 hour setup, and I can provide these to you guys. I get questions about how to set this up, you know, and then here's the indicators, and you can look them up and add them yourself on your own layouts, or you can be a lazy butt and just take my chart. So, you know, if you want it, I can send it to you. It's on some emails I've been sending. So I believe I put it on the email I'm sending tomorrow, at least the day trading layout, which is my 15-minute chart. And this is my short-term swing trading layout, which I bounce around between the 30 and the 1 hour. It's still got the support and resistance that I use on my other layout. And then I use Super Trend to let me know when potentially when to get in on a trade. On this one, it's still in the sell, but it's starting to come back. Now you're in the green zone now with, well, we have 3 candles in a row green, though this one's turning red. This would be a pretty good entry just based on support and resistance, even though support and resistance. You might want to look at a longer time frame to see where else it could go. I mean, we have support here right around 18 cents on audio, and we're at about 21 cents now. So if you want to get in now, I think that would be reasonable, but hold some funds back to make additional purchases down here at 18 cents, and then the bottom of the green zone here, maybe around 13 cents. I think that's how I would approach this as a swing trade. Just trade, you know, support and resistance. Or you could maybe go to the 1 hour, set an alert on the super trend. Takes a moment to come up. And the default's a direction change, which I sometimes like if I use this on a shorter time frame, because it'll let me know whether a short or a buy, you know, sell or a buy comes up. But in this scenario, I just want a buy order. I just want only once. And again, that's an AA score. Then I might use a different, like a handbell, use that different sound to let me know it's a swing trade. And click create. So the next time the buy order goes, you know, on the or the buy signal goes on the super trend, it'll let me know. Like, and then I'll look at where it is regarding support and resistance on different time frames and decide if I want to get in there. The super trend in and of itself is okay, but you can't just trade off the super trend or you'll lose money. You have to look at other factors as well. You know, this went up 3%, and then when the sell triggered, it was actually at a loss. The sell ended up being a loss, but this buy entry did pretty well. You know, 7%, and obviously the sell entry did really well. So super trend in and of itself is hit and miss, but if you take in the other aspects or indicators on this layout, it can be pretty useful. Okay, any questions on audio as a swing trade? Okay, well, we'll look at one more and then we'll go over some questions. We'll wrap it up. So that was an AA score sort. Let's look at on Fridays I often do a short for the weekend, but we're already beaten down so much that I'm not sure if I can really recommend anything. But ZIL is showing bearish with the long-term sentiment sort. I'm going to match that up with the Elder Impulse. I often use these for swing trades. Long-term sentiment is what people are talking about on Twitter. Elder Impulse is a technical indicator when they match up. That can be worthy of further investigation. I'm going to look at ZIL, something I trade from time to time. Let's look at this as a swing trade. And again, they practically all look like this. Now, what can be a good entry on a short is something that comes up, doesn't quite have the energy to recover, and then dips again. So to do that, you right click on your super trend, sell, and this was a long-term sentiment. Yeah, I'll go with a hen bell again. I'm going to create that. And so when it prints a buy and then another sell, I'll get an alert, and then I'll consider that option. I'll go to my day chart, maybe a 4-hour chart first. Yeah, I'm already in the, you don't want to take a short at support. So if I go to the day chart, and let's say that alert triggers right about here, it's 20% down to where ZIL was in early February. So there is some history there, but whether it goes down that far, it's hard to say. So that could be a potential short on ZIL. Okay, any questions on that one? Okay, any questions about the markets overall or Altcoin Alert before I go to the emailed questions? Okay. Okay, I've got a question on the 1, 2, 3 dip, so I'm going to go over to a 5-minute chart. Actually, I need to be on a different layout. Let's go to the 15-minute, 5-minute. Okay, so when you do a 1, 2, 3 dip, you set a goal and get out, or watch the trend and get out when the trend breaks. Well, a lot of what I talk about on these Zoom calls is where to get out. It's where to get in and where to get out. So I focus more on where to get in, but there's a few options on where to get out. Let's say, you take this 1, 2, 3 dip here, it goes against you, you make a couple additional purchases. Let's say you buy it right around here on the 3rd dip. 1, 2, 3. So you get in there, it goes against you. You do a couple additional purchases. If I was a spot trade, I'd probably make at least 2 additional purchases, maybe 3 in this scenario. So my goal to get out would be slightly above where I got in. So my first position breaks even, then the positions 2 through 4 or 2 or 3 do extremely well. That's a ladder buying technique, which is pretty successful in a bull market, but it can leave you in a trade a long time. If you're on leverage, you can't get liquidated, as what happened to me today. So it's far from perfect. A lot of traders instead use stop losses. I can't really argue with that, but overall, I've had more success with this strategy. So let's say you get in here. You wait till the the bloodshed settles down and it starts to trend back up, and you get in right about here. So where do you get out in this scenario? You can go, it's a few options. You can go all the way to resistance. You know, that's it's about 20%. It's a pretty big move. You can, I see some resistance here. You see these multiple candles. That's probably what I would choose, around 9%. So that would be another place to get out. Or you could be really aggressive and go to the top of the red zone, you know, based on this candle action here, and that's 24%. So it's like a 9%, about 19, about 24. Let's see, I learned a new trick here. 9% here, 20% here, and about 24% here. So those are sort of extreme options based on today's conditions. Those are usually where I look to get out when I'm using my trading software, my third-party trading software, which is still in the beta testing mode. I go for at the moment it's 1.3% on a chart at 10x leverage, and so that's a 13% profit, you know, on the amount that I have risked. And that's mostly what I do on my day trades, is trade through that, but I do a few through manually as well. Okay, any questions on that discussion on where you get out on dip trades? Okay. Next question, what can I do to get various indicators? And he's looking at my layout, supply and demand visible range, which is the resistance and support you see here, cumulative delta, which I use for confirmation of my trend trades. Those are the ones that cross above the 50 or dip down below it. I look at the cumulative delta for confirmation. And the RTI I talked about already. So where do you get those? You can ask for my layout, or you can load them yourself right here on the indicators button on TradingView. Type in RTI. Yeah, it's this one by Zierman. Supply and demand visible range is a free indicator from Algo. And cumulative delta is from Noop. And you can find that there as well. I've also got Bollinger Bands on here. And do the same thing, type in Bollinger, it'll come up. And I changed the length from 20. The 20 is default. I changed it to 50, which is a little more conservative. It's wider. And that's what I learned through iCoin Pro, which I talk about on Mondays, and their conservative approach to day trading. Okay, any questions on how to add indicators? Okay, I talked about this earlier. How do you buy shorts with crypto? You can do that on an exchange that has that option. And I talked earlier about BingX and MEXC. You can do that on there if you're in a if you're living elsewhere outside the US, or essentially any Western country, you can probably get on Bybit, BingX, and dozens of others to trade leverage. And there's another question about Bollinger Bands versus RTI, which is, I did send out a video about Bollinger Bands earlier in the week, and I was mostly testing a video creation software I'm using. It's uses AI to create videos. It's pretty cool. So the first one I did was on Bollinger Bands, and that's these green, lines you see, these bubbles and squeezes, from iCoin Pro and the 1, 2, 3 dip. And some people, I use the Bollinger Bands to determine when something's dipping or something's breaking up. But I've essentially moved, because I think it's easier and more alert friendly, to the RTI for this purpose. And that usually gets me in after something's recovered. Now you can set alerts on Bollinger Bands. It's been a long time since I've done this. I don't remember. I think you can do it so it's on the upper, crossing down for a short, and then on the lower, crossing up, something like that. I'm a little rusty on that, but I generally prefer, well, I actually prefer the RTI over Bollinger Bands for setting alerts, but that's just another tool to look at when you decide whether to get in or not. And any questions on Bollinger Bands and the RTI? Okay, one last question from email. How do you trade multiple accounts on Coinbase? Now, I've only got one Coinbase account myself, but I have quite a few sub accounts on Bybit, so I assumed you could do the same thing on Coinbase. I did a quick Google search, and yes, Coinbase does have a sub account option. So that's probably the way to go. I've never used sub accounts on Coinbase, so I didn't feel comfortable talking or saying, here's how you do it. But I did come across, if you Google Coinbase sub accounts, you can figure out how to do that. So yeah, if you want to keep your Coinbase accounts separate for other people in the family or for different strategies at different time frames, you can use sub accounts there. Okay, any questions on anything we've discussed? What was that? Was that Keck?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
What?
I got a message in the chat. Ken's asking me to take a look at math. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. I think the guys talked about it on the CryptNation VIP call. It's on Coinbase. Let's get okay, big pump lately. Okay, it's an all-time high, basically, as we speak. So, what can it do? Well, we do have recent activity up to about 80 cents. It's at 64 now. But it really weathered today's storm pretty well. So if you got in at the moment, you're pretty close to the red zone. So 6%, that's pretty cool. If it goes back to this resistance here, you're at 21%. Go to the top of the
screen?
Oh, I thought I was. I'm sorry. Thanks for letting me know. That's a little embarrassing, but I thought I was done sharing the screen. So okay, you see the math chart now in the 1 hour?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, at the moment we're at 64 cents, but it's been up to 80 cents recently. So as a swing trade, I like it. I would hold some funds back to rebuy down here in case it came down to 50 cents again, or even 25. I think that's where I would get in, 25, 50, and now, and try to ride that back up to 80 cents. So that's how I'd approach that. Any questions on math as a swing trade? Available on Coinbase. Okay. Very well. Well, we've had a pretty energetic Zoom call in light of today's events. Thank you for joining me live. If you are watching the replay, I appreciate that as well. Check out the opportunities in the pinned comment. They help fund the channel. And I will hopefully see you on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye.